I want you to take a second and just think about a time a rumor spread about you.
Oh, man, that is always the absolute worst.
Right. Like maybe it was in high school or your neighborhood or perhaps just a sprawling misunderstanding at work. Remember that sinking feeling in your stomach?
Yeah, the panic.
Exactly. The panic of trying to text the right people to do damage control, carefully explaining your side of the story, hoping you can contain the mess before it solidifies into permanent reality.
It's an incredibly helpless feeling, honestly. Even when the stakes are totally localized, you just feel the narrative of your own life slipping out of your hands, being written by people who don't even really know you.
So take that exact feeling, that visceral anxiety, and multiply it by 1,000,000.
Yeah, try 1 billion.
Right.
Yeah.
Imagine having to manage rumors about yourself, your relationship, and your family on a global scale, where millions of strangers are actively dissecting your every move, and like entire economies are built on monetizing your personal drama.
It's wild to even comprehend.
It is, and that's why our mission in today's deep dive is an exploration into this intense, high-stakes world of celebrity narrative control and reputation management.
And the files we're analyzing today are fascinating.
Oh, they give us such a stark look behind the curtain. We've got two completely contrasting case studies from the materials. First, we'll see how a global pop star uses heavy-duty legal measures to crush online blind items.
Which is a very aggressive approach.
Extremely. And then we'll pivot to see how a billionaire influencer navigates a completely different kind of battlefield, a shifting ecosystem of friendships, where a simple like or an unfollow makes international headlines.
These both are mechanisms of control, right? But they operate in entirely different universes. I mean, on one hand, you have the absolute unforgiving rigidity of international law.
Right.
And on the other, you have the silent, highly ambiguous, and incredibly lucrative language of social media optics.
Let's start with the most concrete form of narrative control there is, which is the legal boundary. From the deep dive materials, we're looking at a detailed breakdown of a cease and desist letter sent by pop star Ed Sheeran and his wife, Cherry Seaborn.
Yeah, and to be clear, this wasn't just a standard public relations statement asking for privacy.
Not at all. This was a targeted, aggressive legal threat aimed at an online aggregator who had been, compiling and discussing blind items implying serial infidelity in their marriage.
And for anyone unfamiliar with the mechanics of modern gossip, blind items are a very specific beast.
Oh, totally.
They're these pieces of unverified gossip where the names are stripped out, but the details are hyper-specific, so the audience can easily guess the subject.
Right, it's like a riddle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because they don't explicitly name the person, creators often feel they have a loophole against libel. But the legal strategy deployed in our documents today completely bypasses that assumed loophole. They invoked the UK Defamation Act of 2013.
Which is a fascinating pivot. Ed and Cherry are based in England and Wales, so they operate under UK defamation law, which is, well, notoriously much stricter and more plaintiff-friendly than US law.
Oh, absolutely. It's night and day.
Yeah. And the 2013 Act is interesting because it was designed to stop frivolous lawsuits over minor internet spats, so it introduces a very specific high bar. A statement is not defamatory unless it has caused or is likely to cause serious harm.
And the law defines serious harm very tangibly.
Right.
It requires demonstrating either actual financial damage or severe quantifiable reputational damage.
Oh.
It removes feelings from the equation entirely.
So you can't just be embarrassed.
No, not at all. You have to prove that the publication is actively ruining your livelihood or your standing. Furthermore, if you look at the documents, the lawyers specifically threatened action for malicious falsehood.
Wow.
Yeah, which means they were asserting legally that the claims weren't just a misunderstanding, but completely fabricated and published with a reckless disregard for the truth, purely for profit.
The way I look at modern internet gossip, it's basically a game of telephone.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like one person whispers something, the next person tweaks it, and on and on. But the internet is a game of telephone hooked up to a stadium PA system.
Right. Everyone hears it instantly.
Millions of people hear the distorted final message all at once. So a cease and desist letter of this magnitude isn't just playing defense. It is the desperate, aggressive move of walking over and ripping the plug right out of the wall.
It really is.
What stands out to me the most from the files, though, is the human vulnerability driving it. The legal threat explicitly states their primary concern is their two young daughters, who are 5 and 3 years old, and the distress these false claims could cause them.
It really grounds a very sterile legal proceeding in a raw protective instinct.
Yeah.
It strips away the armor of Ed Sheeran, the pop star, and reveals a father trying to protect his family's reality from being, distorted by an algorithm. But it also reveals the immense complication of international laws trying to police a borderless internet, because the aggregator might be sitting in a totally different country.
Right.
But the moment that content targets a UK citizen and threatens serious harm within that jurisdiction, the legal machinery can be mobilized.
That protective instinct makes complete sense to me, but it also raises a practical question. Celebrities deal with malicious rumors constantly.
All the time.
And most of them adopt a policy of ignoring it, knowing that engaging often just breathes more life into the story. So why go to such extreme, heavy-handed lengths for these specific blind items?
Well, to understand that, we really have to look past the pop star and look directly at Cherry Seaborn.
Right, her career.
Exactly. This is where the calculus of reputation management shifts dramatically, because Cherry Seaborn has a very serious, high-level professional career working at Deloitte.
And Deloitte is a massive global consulting and accounting firm, right?
Yeah, huge. They handle highly sensitive corporate and government contracts. Our materials even note them as a major competitor to government agency contractors like ICFI.
So, does having a serious corporate career make a person more vulnerable to financial and reputational damage from, pop culture gossip? I mean, if a musician gets a scandalous headline, the conventional wisdom is that people will still buy the album. Sometimes the scandal actually becomes the album.
Oh, 100%. But it creates a night and day difference in vulnerability. In the entertainment world, controversy can be monetized. It keeps you relevant in the news cycle.
Right. Any press is good press.
Exactly. But the corporate world operates on an entirely different frequency. Trust, discretion, and absolute stability are the foundational currencies of high-level consulting.
That makes total sense.
If you are handling sensitive logistics for global entities, the absolute last thing your firm or your high-profile clients wants is for your name to be trending online, alongside phrases like serial infidelity or secret affairs.
I want you to imagine that scenario from the listener's perspective for a second. Like, most of us have experienced that brief, icy panic, wondering if a potential employer or a new colleague might find an embarrassing photo of us from 10 years ago.
Oh, the worst.
Multiply that anxiety exponentially. Imagine walking into a boardroom to give a presentation on corporate restructuring to a Fortune 500 client, knowing that every single person sitting across that table might have read a viral blind item about your marriage that very morning.
It would be debilitating.
It fundamentally undermines the gravitas required for the job.
Which is precisely why the serious harm threshold in the UK Defamation Act was met so easily here. For a professional operating within a corporate structure, severe reputational damage is synonymous with serious financial loss.
Right.
The legal threat wasn't a PR stunt. It was a necessary intervention because the real-world consequences for her career were genuinely threatening. It's just a perfect example of managing a narrative through sheer force.
Okay, so the Sheeran approach works beautifully when you have a verifiable lie, deep pockets, and the law on your side.
Sure.
But what happens when the damage you are facing isn't illegal? Like, what happens when the threat isn't a fabricated story, but a subtle shift in social alliances? I mean, you can't exactly send a cease and desist letter because someone didn't invite you to dinner.
No, you definitely can't. And that is where we transition from legal warfare to psychological warfare.
Welcome to the Kardashian-Jenner ecosystem. We are leaving the courtrooms of the UK and stepping into a world where narratives are controlled by the highly visible, completely silent language of public appearances and, well, strategic omissions.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Let's look at the viral reunion of Kylie Jenner and her former best friend, Jordyn Woods, which is detailed in the Deep Dive files. The scene is incredibly specific. Kylie and Jordyn, courtside at a Knicks versus Spurs game, locked in a massive, highly photographed hug.
And it's crucial to analyze the choreography of this moment.
Oh, choreography is the perfect word for it.
Right, because this wasn't a grainy, accidental paparazzi shot of them bumping into each other at a local coffee shop.
No.
It was a full public reinstatement in one of the most visible arenas in the world. And they followed it up with a double date at Charles' Prime Rib with their respective partners. Kylie with Timothée Chalamet and Jordyn with Karl-Anthony Towns.
And the level of granular detail that was deliberately leaked or confirmed about this dinner is just fascinating to me. We know exactly what they ate.
Down to the sides.
Yes. The public was treated to a breakdown of the menu. The files note they had the crispy brick chicken, the double-cut lamb chops, the bone-in filet. It practically reads like a culinary peace treaty. But, I
Yeah.
mean, why do we know the menu? Why would an influencer team want the public to know they ordered the lamb chops?
Because in the influencer economy, specificity sells authenticity.
Interesting.
If they just put out a statement saying we had a nice dinner, it feels like a PR statement. It's cold. But by providing the granular, mundane details of the meal, it creates an illusion of intimacy for the audience.
Ah, I see.
It makes a highly orchestrated brand event feel like a genuine, relatable moment between friends.
I find myself struggling with that exact concept, though. I mean, we all know the intense history here. Kylie and Jordyn were so thoroughly enmeshed that they once held a televised marriage ceremony where Kylie literally vowed to always be there for Jordyn, thick and thin in this life and after.
Yeah, actual vows.
And then the catastrophic 2019 fallout happens with Khloe Kardashian and Tristan Thompson. Jordyn is exiled from the inner circle, and the narrative is strictly, coldly controlled for years. Now we have this very photogenic courtside reunion and a steakhouse double date. Can a friendship that oscillates between televised marriage vows and absolute excommunication ever truly be authentic? Or is it fundamentally just a brand strategy?
Well, that is the core tension of their entire industry.
Yeah.
The reality is that the line between personal affection and brand strategy just doesn't exist for them in the way it does for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
In this tier of the influencer economy, public friendships are a tangible form of currency.
Wow.
Yeah, when two mega influencers align, it functions mechanically like a corporate merger. You are combining two massive, distinct audiences, cross-pollinating engagement, and creating a unified, highly profitable brand narrative.
So, and let me guess, when they break up, it's a corporate split. The shared assets like the mutual friends, the public sympathy, the algorithm dominance, that all gets fiercely divided.
Exactly. You nailed it. So this reunion isn't just about two women deciding to let bygones be bygones over a plate of brick chicken.
Right?
It is a highly strategic public declaration that the merger is back on. It signals to brands and the algorithm that they're a package deal again. But, in a closed ecosystem like this, every action creates collateral damage. You can't reinstate a former executive without severely upsetting the current management.
Which brings us to Stacey. Stacey. She is Kylie's other best friend, the one who stepped into the immediate vacuum when Jordyn was exiled. The fallout from this reunion has created an incredibly messy friendship triangle, and the way it's being handled in our documents is just a masterclass in silent narrative control.
Silence is often the most deafening tool they have.
Okay, so just before the Jordyn reunion, Kylie takes Stacey on a lavish trip to Turks and Caicos to celebrate Stacey's birthday. They vlog it, they're dancing at a cookout, projecting total unity.
Right, the perfect best friends.
Exactly. They return to the States. The highly publicized Jordyn reunion happens at the Knicks game, and then Stacey's actual birthday arrives. And Kylie Jenner, a woman who documents the absolute minutiae of her existence for hundreds of millions of followers, conspicuously fails to post a single birthday wish for Stacey.
It is the social equivalent of Ed Sheeran's cease and desist, just executed without lawyers.
That is such a good way to put it.
By actively choosing not to post, Kylie is broadcasting a massive shift in the hierarchy without having to give a single quote to the press. It forces the audience, the brands, and their peripheral friends to read between the lines and adjust their own alignments accordingly.
Stacey isn't taking this passively, though. She has her own counter-narrative going on. She has historically pushed back against the idea that she is just a pawn in the Kardashian chess game.
Right, she has her own platform.
Yeah, and the files mentioned she claims she disliked Jordyn for her own independent reasons, completely separate from the 2019 exile, noting she wasn't even following Jordyn before the scandal broke.
It's a vital attempt to maintain personal agency. Stacey is trying to establish that her alliances are based on her own judgment, not just dictated by Kylie's whims.
Right.
But in the court of public opinion, the optics of being suddenly frozen out speak a lot louder than her historical justifications.
So she pivots. If you track Stacey's movements right after this birthday slight, she heads straight to Monaco.
As one does.
Right. She's socializing on yachts, dining at Le Garret, and she is actively surrounding herself with a completely new crew of power players. She is suddenly seen constantly with major, fast-rising influencers like Jake Shane and Alex Earl.
Very strategic.
And there was even a subtle subplot noted in the materials about some tension at a club where both Stassi and Alex were vying for the attention of Formula One driver Lando Norris. But ultimately, they are projecting a unified front, working out together on the yacht and cross-posting content.
This introduces a fascinating concept we can call attention diversification.
Oh, I like that.
If we keep the corporate merger analogy going, Stassi's stock value suddenly plummeted within the Jenner portfolio. So to survive, she has to immediately diversify her assets. She hedges against the volatility of her primary friendship by investing heavily in an emerging asset.
Which in this case is Alex Earl.
Exactly. Someone who currently commands one of the most engaged audiences on the internet.
You know, there is a theory floating around this ecosystem that what we are watching in Monaco is essentially an audition phase for a new celebrity friendship duo. The idea that management teams might actually be orchestrating these hangouts to test audience synergy is just staggering to me.
Oh, it happens way more often than people realize. Yeah. Behind the scenes, agencies will cross-check audience demographics and engagement overlap. If Stassi's followers and Alex's followers react positively to them being on a yacht together, the friendship will be greenlit for further investment, leading to joint brand deals and podcast appearances.
I want you to imagine applying that level of strategic calculation to your own life. Imagine scheduling a coffee date with a new acquaintance, but treating it as an audition phase to see if your combined social capital warrants a permanent alliance.
It sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting just to think about. It is essentially the absolute worst parts of high school cafeteria politics, like who sits with who didn't get a birthday shout out, but monetized to the maximum possible degree with millions of dollars hanging on every perceived slight.
It is exhausting, but it is the engine of their specific industry. Older, more established celebrities eventually opt out of this.
That's true.
You look at people who have solidified their brands and transitioned fully into their working eras. They don't need to play the cafeteria game anymore. Their businesses run regardless of who they are photographed hugging.
Right.
But for the influencer tier, the interpersonal drama is the core product. The constant shifting of alliances is what keeps the audience engaged and speculating.
When we pull back and look at the entire spectrum we've covered today from the files, the sheer scale of the effort is staggering.
Yeah.
I mean, on one end, you have Ed Sheeran and Cherry Seaborn deploying the heavy machinery of international defamation law to decisively crush a narrative that threatened their corporate stability and family peace.
Right. And on the other end, you have this incredibly intricate influencer ecosystem where power is wielded through strategic omissions, public hugs, and leaked steakhouse menus.
It just proves that controlling the narrative is a grueling full-time job, whether you are wearing a suit in a London courtroom or sitting courtside at Madison Square Garden.
And it serves as a stark reminder that absolute public visibility comes with an exorbitant tax. Every single action is scrutinized, every silence is weaponized, and every rumor carries the potential to cause serious harm.
Yeah.
Whether that harm translates to legal liability, corporate financial loss, or absolute social exile.
I think the biggest takeaway for you listening right now is to take a deep breath and truly appreciate the profound luxury of your own relative anonymity.
Yes, embrace it.
If you and your best friend get into a fight, you don't have to worry about millions of strangers analyzing your Instagram likes to determine who holds the moral high ground.
Yeah.
You don't have to leak your dinner menu to prove you made up. You can just be mad, and then, you can just forgive each other.
It is the ultimate freedom. The freedom to make mistakes, to have messy fallouts, and to quietly reconcile without an audience demanding an explanation or a management team calculating the ROI of your apology.
Exactly. But before we wrap up this deep dive, there is one final lingering thread that connects both of these vastly different worlds, and it's something that is only going to become more complex. Both of these case studies revolve ultimately around children.
Right. The next generation.
Ed and Cherry initiated their legal strike specifically to protect their 5- and 3-year-old daughters from the fallout of a fabricated rumor. And in the other camp, Kylie's daughter, Stormy, is growing up squarely in the middle of these shifting, highly publicized alliances. I mean, Jordyn Woods was an intimate part of Kylie's private pregnancy before being exiled, and now she's back.
It's the most volatile, unseen variable in this entire conversation.
If these adults, armed with millions of dollars, international lawyers, and entire teams of crisis PR managers, are struggling this profoundly to control the narrative, what happens when this next generation comes of age?
It's a huge unknown.
What happens when these children inherit a massive, indelible digital footprint and a tangled web of public feuds that they had absolutely no hand in creating? They are going to inherit a game of telephone that has been echoing in the stadium since before they were even born. And the terrifying question is, how do you ever pull the plug on that?